Personal freedom plays an essential role in international migration, and that is understandable because the fact that a country offers certain personal freedoms is a prerequisite for being able to live a self-determined life. There are many different reasons that lead people to move abroad and continue their lives in another country. In most cases, people leave their homeland for economic, religious, political, professional, or personal reasons. However, fleeing from countries that do not offer a certain degree of personal freedom probably also fueled international migration throughout history. Particularly in the context of the circumstances of the last few months, I don't think I need to explain this any further. Personal freedoms have been reduced in many countries, and I noticed this on my channel as well. From time to time, I receive comments from viewers who are unhappy with the measures and policies of their government and therefore are interested in moving abroad and therefore stumble upon this channel. But this video is not about which measures are useful and which ones are not, but in this video I would like to compare some countries in the degree of personal freedoms they offer, and then also take a look at the intensity of the measures that governments all around the world introduced. Many different institutions publish lists comparing countries by the personal freedoms that they offer. And since personal freedom is not always defined in the same way and not always evaluated according to the same factors, these comparisons differ. The German Wikipedia page called Lists of Countries by Personal Freedom shows a comparison of a London-based institute in which countries are compared according to the right of self-determination, freedom of assembly and association, freedom of speech and access to information, absence of legal discrimination, and social tolerance. For each of these categories, there are several indicators. In total, there are 27 of them. According to this list, Norway is the country that offers the highest level of personal freedoms. Norway ranks top 3 in each of these 5 categories. Norway is followed by Denmark, Finland, Sweden, the Netherlands, and Iceland. So except for the Netherlands, these are all Nordic countries. According to this list, the country with the greatest personal freedoms on the North American continent is Canada, while Uruguay leads in South America, even ahead of France and therefore also ahead of French Guiana. Cyprus leads on the Asian continent, followed by Taiwan, and Cape Verde leads on the African continent. The leading country in which German is recognized as an official language is Luxembourg, followed by Switzerland, Germany, Belgium, and Austria. It should be noted that the data comes from 2019. But probably much more interesting is the question of how strongly various countries have responded to the previously mentioned event. The University of Oxford has collected extensive data on almost all countries and also visualized the data on their website. The darker a country is colored, the more drastic measures were imposed. 9 indicators were taken into account, for instance closing of schools and offices, bans on assembly, or restrictions in both national and international travel. One can see how China started with implementing measures and was soon followed by Italy. It is interesting to note that Nicaragua, from January 2020 till today, apparently did not initiate any major measures. Australia, on the other hand, seems to enjoy regularly changing the strength of their measures. In Europe, Belarus stands out. Although Belarus is not known for offering a high degree of personal freedom, it seems to have implemented relatively few measures compared to neighboring states. Sweden did not introduce a full lockdown, but apparently there were still restrictions because Sweden is not significantly less colored. Maybe you know the reason behind this? In South America, it is interesting to observe that Uruguay took a more liberal course at the beginning, but was later topped by Bolivia. In Venezuela, it looks like measures are quite strict. It would have been interesting to compare the US states with each other, but unfortunately the data was not collected or not published. So if you are looking for a country with lots of personal freedom, it's worth considering the Nordic countries, at least according to most statistics. But not everyone values the same things when it comes to freedom. For one person, legal gun ownership means freedom. For another person, lower living costs and the resulting increased purchasing power lead to a greater sense of freedom, while a third person defines freedom as the ability to legally consume any substance, and for a fourth person, freedom may mean being able to marry the person he or she wants. The topic of personal freedom in the context of moving abroad is therefore not only quite multidimensional, if one can say that, but also to a certain extent subjective. But if there is a demand, I will for sure make some more informative videos about this topic.